Hey guys, how's it going? It's Daniel from DashClicks. Now, due to popular demand, I'm coming at you today with a super cool training on what you guys have been wanting to see for a little while. I've been getting requests and stuff, and I finally made it for you guys. It's how to close a prospect using InstaReports. Okay, couple things. First of all, I'm going to go into details, 3 areas basically. I want to go over just some basic things that I think it's good to just know. It kind of might put you in the right mindset. I'm going to go over, secondly, I'm going to go over like a basic outline process that has worked for me. And thirdly, I'm really sharing information with you. That's a couple things. First of all, this is stuff I've used in building my agency and I found to work really well for me. And secondly, sales is subjective. So what worked for me might not work for you, but just take this kind of with a grain of salt and just use it as a format, a structure, a kind of a place to start. And then just know, like, the best way to learn sales, honestly, is not by any special training or book. I mean, it helps, sure. But if you can't apply it, it's just, you're going to have a hard time doing sales. The best way to do it is just pick up the phone and do it over and over and over again. Over time, you'll get really good. You'll feel more comfortable. And you'll just know how to handle yourself in weird situations, and you'll just learn. It's the best way. Okay, let's jump into section 2, which basically is the format of this. Now, the first part of this sales process is the outreach part, obviously, because I got to get in contact with these people, all right? And a great way to get in contact with people that have never heard your voice is offering them something of value in a way that they interpret as good news, okay? There's a psychology thing about this. I'm not going to jump into it, but when you call someone up and you have good news, it's exciting. People love hearing good news. So your InstaReport is really going to help you create the opportunity to close people. It's not going to actually close people, if that makes sense. So you call this person up. Let's just call him Jim or Jill. Doesn't really matter. And you go, hey, I got this thing. It's free. However you want to phrase it. I don't want to jump into too much here because I really want to focus in on details on the closing call. But this is what you're essentially doing. I made this report. I can send it over. Okay. Now what that offers you, if there's interest that sparks, is, well, if you want, we could schedule a 30-40 minute call, which is your discovery call. This is just not to sell them anything, not even talk about services. It's just to get to know them. In the discovery call, it's meant to go over the report. This is what you both have in common, is this report. And during that call, you're going to start talking to them, seeing what they're doing. You're going to might go, oh, this guy could really benefit from a strong SEO plan, the pro plan or whatever plan it is. And so after you do that, you've also built trust in somewhat of a relationship. And at that point, you want to transition into proposal closing call. So how do you do that? Well, hey, Jim, listen, based on what we talked about today and what you told me, I think you'd really benefit from like a really strong SEO plan. Why don't I give me a few days? Let me put together a bunch of information. I'll just make a little roadmap. I can go over what it looks like, how it works, how you and I would work together, even like the investment, so you can decide if this is something that you want to do. Are you available in 2 days at this time? And Jim goes, yeah, okay, cool, great. All right, awesome. Talk to you soon. This is where the meat and everything you want to know is. This is your proposal/closing call, okay? Keep in mind, your InstaReport doesn't necessarily transfer over to the closing call per se. You might be able to extrapolate details and put that into your proposal. Maybe show them again how their SEO has an F rating. That might be good, but that's kind of the use of the InstaReport up to that point. So there's a couple things you need to know going into this closing call. Okay, take notes. I'm going to go a little slower here because I want to be really specific and clear. There's a couple things. The first thing is you have a set of goals you need to accomplish in this call. Okay, the first one is you need to make sure you tell them how this call is going to go in a format. And that's something like this. Hey, Jim, how's it going? I'm glad you're on the call. Oh, yeah, cool, great. You might banter a little bit of small talk. Fine, don't get too carried away. But then you want to lay out the format. Okay, Jim, well, let's jump into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share all these details with you, how it looks, how it works with us working together, blah, blah, onboarding, all that. And then we'll jump right into the investment. That's the complete format. Okay. And you can bring up the investment. Don't tell them how much it is, but you can say, and we're going to go through the investment. Sound good? And it'll go, great. Okay. What that does is it allows you to know what you need to talk about, and it kind of takes an awkwardness away of you or him figuring out when you want to bring up the investment. And sometimes that could be random. And then he's like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Sticker shock. No thanks. Okay. So you have that. Secondly, you do not want to send him the proposal until you have the call with him. And you want to share your screen so you're in control of what he sees in your proposal. Do not, I repeat, do not send your proposal to any prospect before your closing call. The first time they see it should be in that closing call. And you should be able to share your screen and show them what they need to see at each moment in time of that call. Okay, the third thing is extremely important. And this does a few things. First of all, it will probably reduce a lot of objections you get. I've seen that work for me. And it's going to make them more comfortable when you do share the investment with them, that they'll actually say yes and let's do it. What are our next steps? Okay. You want to make sure that they understand what the service is going to do, what you're going to provide them, what it looks like when they do sign on, how that relationship looks, onboarding, all that stuff. Like, you might get really specific, but you just need to make sure he's clear on what this looks like, how it works, how it works working with you, what it looks like after payment, onboarding, timeframes, all that. Okay. Even reporting and stuff. I have found clients typically say yes more often, the more secure they feel knowing those details, primarily. Okay, so those are the things you just need to focus on. So you lay the format down, you go, okay, Jeff, let's get started. You share your screen, you go through the stuff, you're going all through details, and like, by the way, Jeff, if you have any questions, just throw them out during the call, okay? Great. Right before you get to the investment part, you're going to ask him, all right, so that's pretty much everything, and we're going to transition over to the investment part. But before I do that, do you have any other questions? Right? And just make sure you explain things really well and clearly, because at that point, that's usually the point where you might get some objections based on like questions about the service or whatever it might be. But if you do it well enough, most likely that person is just going to go, nope, sounds clear. Okay, awesome. Before you jump into the investment part and say the pricing, you want to repeat everything again. I know this sounds like overkill, but I'm telling you it works really well. And you need to just also do it in a quicker way than you did initially. That looks like this. All right, Jim, so before we jump into the investment part, do you have any other questions? No, sounds clear. Okay, so you understand how what our SEO service will do, and you understand what our onboarding will look like, and after investments made, you know how we'll have each month we'll do our calls. All that's clear? Yep. Okay, great. So now let's jump into the investment. Before you reveal the price, you're going to jump and rephrase everything. Okay, so we're going to jump into the investment. Just to be clear, you're going to be getting this service, this package. It's going to come with all this stuff. We have a 2-week onboarding. All this is included, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and so what that looks like is a monthly price of whatever it is. Okay, what that does is you've made sure he understands everything. So he basically has no questions. So he shouldn't have any further questions regarding what you just went over. The only questions he might have might just be on price, and that's a better objection to overcome because it's more consolidated than him now saying, I need to come up with random questions about anything I can think of to avoid paying this. Okay, do you see what I'm saying now? So you went through all the details, ready to go in the investment. That's the next step because you laid the format out. All right, let me just rephrase everything. Understand? Yep. Okay. So for all that, it's this much per month. Once you say the price, you need to not say anything. You might have heard this multiple times, different places, but it's very true. Don't say anything. If a certain amount of time goes and like this is really way too long, then maybe just be like, what are your thoughts? Okay, that's fine. But try not to be the first one to say anything, because what will happen is they're going to start thinking and they're going to start feeling awkward, like you might too. And if time passes, like a long time, it's actually kind of a good thing because they can't think of any objections to say. And so now you got to take control again and go, okay, what are your thoughts? Well, it sounds good to me. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And you basically formatted it to tell them that you're going into the investment. So you can, feel confident and comfortable. Like, okay, well, now we're talking about the investment because I told you we would. Now we're here. Okay, well, what are your thoughts? Well, this or that. Okay, well, besides the money, like, do you have any other concerns? And just dive into what they're really concerned about. Well, it's the money and this. Okay, well, just so you know, is there anything you don't understand? So anyways, you can kind of go through this and get to the point where now you're just talking about the investment. I have found doing this format has worked really well into getting people saying like, yeah, sounds great. That's not bad. Okay, cool. How do we get started? By following this format, you have a better chance of getting to that point quicker and more cleanly than going through all these objections and all this stuff flying up and then really pushing people hard and stuff like that. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you need more specifics derived from this, just comment below. Let me know if I missed anything or anything like that. But just know that this format has worked really well for me before. I still use this format when I'm closing clients, and I find it to work very well. So, again, hope you enjoyed this. Comment below. Let me know what you thought. If I missed anything, let me know, and I will see you in the next training video. See you guys.